Welcome to Ken Morgan's Storytelling Radio. In this episode, I would like to discuss about general intelligence of artificial intelligence and how it is possible to build general intelligence. And I start from an anecdotal observation, which is actually noticed by many people now. And it's quite interesting that artificial intelligence systems achieve high proficiency in many diverse fields of cognition, even if they are just trained on large language models. And this is something that has been noticed by many experts now, that earlier there were many expert artificial intelligence systems. One, for example, dealing with chemical compounds, and one dealing with pattern recognition, and something dealing with time series and so on. But now it seems that only one artificial intelligence model would suffice. And if you train a large language model, such as ChatGPT, in the multimodal aspect, then it would emerge as an all-encompassing, almighty intelligence system. And this is something quite interesting and somewhat unexpected. So I see many people scratching their heads. Of course, they expected the artificial intelligence systems to be of sufficient general abilities, given the fact that language is the lingua franca of where we observe and grasp the world at large. But having said that, it's quite an enigma why and how these systems achieve what seem to be miraculous performances of general intelligence. And this idea that artificial general intelligence is there to solve all relevant problems might have seen as might have appeared to be something added to the specific abilities of artificial intelligence systems, but now there seems to be kind of a generic aspect of any intelligence, artificial or natural. Any intelligence, artificial or natural, might be of general capabilities. Famously, Charles Spearman studied human intelligence, and he came up with this idea of G factor. And he was of the opinion that, when humans exhibit abilities in many different aspects of intelligence, they tend to be clustered. They tend to be statistically correlated. So there would be G factor, general intelligence factor, which would correlate with many different modalities of intelligence. And this famously led to the concept of IQ, or intelligence quotient. And to talk about intelligence as if there could be non-general intelligence might be actually a misnomer. I mean, if you look at how artificial intelligence systems are emerging from the research that we are conducting, it would emerge that actually, indeed, any intelligence is an artificial intelligence, general intelligence, and in that respect, there couldn't be a non-general intelligence. Intelligence that is worthy of the name would be actually a general. So this is a really interesting idea, and one that probably would align with the findings that we are discovering right now. Right now, by the way, I am in Shibuya, and it's a busy part of Tokyo. And actually, I'm going to a really interesting YouTube-based video franchise Pivot is a new company founded by Mr. Sasaki, who spun off from the famous media company here, Newspeaks, and I'm going to really have an interesting conversation on quantum computation now with Professor Fuji from Osaka University. So actually I'm quite close to the venue now, I think. So I need to stop recording in a few minutes. But meanwhile, I have to say that probably any intelligence is general intelligence. And I think this is a really wonderful idea to come emerge from the artificial intelligence research in general in recent years. That's another truck, strange truck, advertisement truck. Weird truck. Tokyo is a place where we have a lot of interesting weird memes. They're weird. Really weird. Anyway, I think I'm quite close to the office building that I am going into. Starbucks on the ground floor, so I think I found it, and here we go. So I'll leave here for a moment. I'll come back to you later. Yeah. So I'm back from the shooting at the Pivot company. It's a really interesting media company, which spun off from Newspeaks, and I'm really enjoying it. I really enjoyed my discussion with Professor Fuji of Osaka University about quantum computing, and it was really a pleasure and privilege. Anyway, so I'm walking towards my next destination, and so the fact, it's really an enigma. As I mentioned in my previous episode, large language models are dependent on human brains. Because without the human brain, large language models cannot really be said to have a grasp on the world. If you are faced with completely new words, it would be not comprehensible. And the fact that, for example, I'm speaking English, and although it's not my native tongue, I have learned to speak it, and the fact that things can be expressed in English is due to the fact that there are structures embedded in each of us, each of our brains, and it's also in the society. So it's a language game, and as Wittgenstein pointed out, there's no private language. So we are all exchanging text. Well, by the way, recently planes fly over central Tokyo. They changed the flying route onto Haneda. So sometimes planes fly over central Tokyo. So if you're on a plane, you have a really wonderful view of central Tokyo. But it also means that when you are in central Tokyo, you are bombarded with all this noise. But I don't mind the noise so much. I mean, some local residents do complain about it, but I don't mind so much. So anyway, so you might occasionally hear a plane noise. I'm coming to the cross section. One of the busiest cross sections in Harajuku. Omotesando area. This is a fashion district, so I have nothing to do with this district. No fashion. My fashion statement is no fashion. So anyway, it's quite busy. There are so many fashion conscious people here who know about the business of, Anyway, so where was I? Yeah. So it's quite interesting that language is so central to general intelligence, and so arguably, if you understand natural language, that is kind of general intelligence, isn't it? I mean, even if you don't have any access to mathematics, large language is general intelligence. So, it's not that surprising that large language models have developed natural language. At general intelligence, well, they have a command of natural language. You don't have to be that clever. I mean, you don't have to be super intelligent to claim that you have a general intelligence. Indeed, if you're a human being and if you speak language, that would mean that you have general intelligence, more or less. Of course, there are different grades of intelligence, but probably we can equate natural language comprehension with general intelligence. So, so the holy grail of artificial intelligence research, if you are pursuing general intelligence, can be said, can be shifted to the acquisition of natural language, and large language models do just that. So it's no wonder that they have artificial general intelligence, and so I think that much is clear, and so people are surprised that natural language also would imply common sense and theory of mind and all these things. But if you think really carefully, the use of natural language is kind of manifestations of all these wonderful cognitive abilities. It will be difficult to use natural language without understanding common sense and theory of mind, and being capable of false belief tasks and so on. So in that sense, the road from natural language comprehension and common sense comprehension and theory of mind handling is very short. I mean, it's almost identical, I think. But so that, I think, is okay. But at the same time, you might feel that there's something missing. I mean, there are things that cannot be expressed by natural language. There would be something beyond natural language that will be our intuition, and that is also experience. Some people might be able to handle natural language, but do not have any, insight or deep understanding of things, and that's a totally different story, I think. And you don't have to do that. You don't understand that. I think you need probably to go beyond natural language. So it's quite interesting if there's any sense in saying that probably in order to build a truly general artificial intelligence system, you somehow would have to go beyond natural language. So large language models are capable of handling natural language, but does it also mean that they are going beyond it? Now, this is something interesting, and it's quite amazing that if you just train artificial intelligence systems to be a large language model, then they would also develop common sense and theory of mind and all these things, numerical abilities as well, logical abilities and ability to understand programming language and all these things. So, natural language would be an umbrella ability for all these things. But are there anything beyond that? So in my previous episode of Street Brain Radio, I talked about the remaining factor, the 1%, the remaining 1%, which might be actually essential in making the AI robust and sustainable. But what is that 1%? Now this is interesting, and I think this is something that really needs our attention in the coming years, if not decades. And also, as I said, the ability to recognize cognitive impasse might be actually one of them. And indeed, when we are lost in investigations, we typically don't utter any words. It's quite interesting. There's a trade-off relationship between explicit verbal expressions and the depth of thinking, investigative thinking. When you're really in deep thought, you actually do not utter any words. I mean, you're lost for words. The ability to remain silent for some length of time is actually a hallmark of higher intellect. And artificial intelligence systems, I think, fail in that. I mean, they cannot remain silent. I mean, of course we wouldn't know. I mean, if LLM LLM system does not come up with any words, we would think that it's malfunctioning. So it's in their interest, it's in their self-interest to keep uttering words even if they don't understand. But it's quite interesting what distinguishes to think what distinguishes within states of mind where we happily utter words after words, and when we remain silent and be captured in that cognitive impasse, cognitive bottleneck. And it's we don't know, do we? I mean, we don't know where the difference comes from. Albert Einstein famously didn't utter any words, according to the wonderful autobiography of the same name by Walter Isaacson. And it's by the way, where are we? Where am I now? I'm kind of lost, I think, on my way to the National Stadium, where I plan to do a Zoom call. Oh, okay, probably I know where I am now. Yes. So I think I know my name, my role now. But interestingly, sometimes I come across people who recognize me. Actually, young couple said "konnichiwa," hello to me. I don't know if I know them, but probably they know me. And but when you are talking into your iPhone, it's okay. I mean, if I was videotaping, it wouldn't be okay. But since I am talking with my iPhone, by the way, I am in front of a shop called Human Made, whatever it is, by Blue Bottle Coffee, and there are a bunch of tourists from all over the world, and they are having something. I don't know what. So this street brain radio, as I mentioned several times, is a great invention. I can walk and talk and remain anonymous. Well, not anonymous, but remain unobtrusive. I do not stand out when I do that, because people assume that I am talking to somebody. Although it's really weird, because I do not wear the earphone, that typical earphone that people use to converse with people. But people probably would assume that I am using some brand new technology, or probably that my earphone is too small, they wouldn't recognize it. So it's quite interesting. Anyway, where was I? Yes. So Albert Einstein did not utter any words until he was 5, according to Isaac, the biography by Walter Isaacson. And I think that's a great testimony of the fact that sometimes linguistic abilities and spatial thinking or deep cognitive abilities are trade-offing. By the way, I'm coming to a place where there's this gallery and studio called Popularity. There's an opening reception or something. As I said, this is a fashion district of Tokyo, and I have nothing to do with fashion. So, but I do notice these things. Quite interesting. So, you wonder if you make an Albert Einstein type AI, that AI would remain silent for a while when it doesn't know what to say, or when it is absorbed in deep thought. Would it be silent? Albert Einstein was silent for 5 years of his life. I don't know. It's quite interesting to speculate. So I am coming to the National Stadium, but I'm not sure if I can make it to the traffic lights, for it's blue. I'm always running like this. Seriously, embodied existence, and no, I couldn't make it, so it doesn't matter now. Whenever I come to the National Stadium, my heart is filled with a tinge of sadness, because the Tokyo Olympics 2020 and 1 year later, 2021, did not come as we expected, and it was a huge disappointment. And we couldn't help it. I mean, it was a huge disappointment. Well, sometimes you cannot help it. Large language models cannot solve this kind of disappointment problems. Anyway, I'm coming to, I think, the end of this particular recording leg of this episode. I need to stop and concentrate on the preparation for the Zoom meeting that I'm going to conduct outside this magnificent National Stadium. So stay tuned and see you around. I'm crossing the traffic with blue signal now. So I have been sitting on the bench near the new National Stadium, and I have not finished my Zoom call, so I'm moving towards the subway station, and I need to move again. Because of remote conferencing techniques, nowadays I have the freedom to be anywhere, and so I'm in here in the National Stadium, and I'm trying to go to the subway station. Interesting. Anyway, where was I? Yeah. So, I think one of the things that probably need to be considered when we discuss the significance of large language models in generating artificial general intelligence is speech act. We concerned with the semantics of language, but at the same time, statements can be made with some intentions, and that is a speech act. For example, if you say that I open the conference and the conference is opened, and so speech can be also related to some intentionalities and actions. And I think that aspect is probably missing from artificial intelligence. And now I'm going into the underground, and this is the escalator, so I need to be careful with my alignment with the environment. If there are people around, and so this is probably a speech act. And artificial general intelligence, AI, artificial general intelligence, they do not have a body, they don't have action, so they do not have any speech acts. And so I think that could be limitation of general intelligence based on large language models, and for that matter, intelligence in general might be limited. And even if you have intelligence, what do you use them for? And it's unless you do something based on that intelligence, you are no good. And so just possessing intelligence is probably not sufficient to do something interesting in the world. And I think that's a general criticism of the whole artificial intelligence idea, that the AI lacks any significant modes of action. And I think that I'm entering underground now. Oh, wait, made some noise because I didn't touch the entry card in a proper fashion. So that was the act. I'm going down the stairs to the platform. Intelligence by itself has no significance, and I think so. I'm just saying that if general intelligence can be equated to language systems, then intelligence itself might be limited. The language is limited, and I think this probably is a crucial criticism of potential criticism of any language-based intelligence model, and indeed any intelligence at all. So I stop here because the train might be coming now. So I'm back on the streets. I'm going to meet up with a great friend of mine, and I'm walking towards the spot where we're going to meet. I am in the Daimon, Onarimon area in Tokyo. This is a traditional area, and there is a great temple, Zojoji temple, which actually is a place where the great Tokugawa shogunate tombs are located. So this is a area of historical significance. And so anyway, about this idea that maybe general intelligence can be equated with language models, it's quite interesting. A man is jumping the signal, traffic signal. It's quite amazing. I wonder why he's doing that. Anyway, where was I? So yeah, so although even if we have complete knowledge of the world, it doesn't mean that you will be acting in appropriate way in terms of survival. So so objectives are totally different from intelligence. Even if you have intelligence, you might actually not want anything. Intelligence is kind of value neutral. You can use your intelligence in any direction. You can use your intelligence towards realizing world peace, or you can use your intelligence to destroy the whole human species. So that is a strange aspect of intelligence. You can use your intelligence to be friendly with people, or you can use your intelligence to be antagonistic to other people around you. So and so I don't think there's any way to tell which is more intelligent, being friendly with your friends or being antagonistic to all of them. And this, I think, is a great enigma of intelligence and great paradox. You can either choose to follow a particular trajectory or not, and this is very much related to the speech action thing. You can make a speech, but that could be used in many different directions, and you can try to use your influence to the betterment of the world or the improvement of many people. In this sense, I think it's quite close to the white magic, black magic idea. I once studied this concept, and this is quite interesting. Of course, I don't believe in magic. I mean, I think there's nothing external to what we do. Causality bound world, but traditionally it was so that whether you use it for positive purposes or negative purposes, the magic is the same as a methodology. So white magic will be when you try to realize love, beauty, and so on. And black magic will be when you try to destroy somebody, or you try to realize what you wish for, and you use exactly the same methodology of magic. So that is black magic and white magic. And so magic as a method is value neutral. So it's something similar to intelligence. Intelligence as a method is value neutral. So you can use your intelligence to do something good or something bad, and that decision doesn't come from intelligence. So this, I think, would give a very interesting twist on conscious free will, because free will is usually constructed in such a way that you either push button A or button B. It's very simplistic. It's value. Either way, it's the same value. I mean, it doesn't really matter. I mean, so it's not very interesting. But if, on the other hand, you have intelligence and you can exert your intelligence in any direction, and yet you have a choice, and you can either choose to do something or else based on intelligence, then it is going to be very interesting. So intelligence-based action, perception and judgment and choice. I think this is the most significant aspect of free will. And for that, I think we probably need to come up with some really great ideas, because that is actually what is at the juncture, if you like, of artificial intelligence research. Okay, we develop artificial intelligence, but what do we use them for? We can develop godlike artificial intelligence, but we can use it to develop weapons of mass destruction, or we can use it to and solve the global warming problem, solve the world's poverty problem. We can choose both of them. It's a piece of cake if you have a good like artificial intelligence, but what way do we choose? I think this probably is the most significant choice that we want to make once we get to technological singularity. And I think that this intelligence-assisted free will problem, I think, is the most significant aspect of the future of our technology. And I don't see too many discussions on that, which is a shame. Actually, I have come to a place where I need to start looking for my friend. So I'll stop my recording here. So I have been meeting with a friend and I have partied with him, and I'm now walking along the streets near Ginza. And it's quite astonishing. There's so many people. I think COVID-19 is now finally over. Well, it's time it's over. I mean, we have been too oppressed with COVID-19. So I think, it's time we finish with this. Anyway, but many people are actually wearing face masks still. I don't wear a face mask. I don't want that. I mean, it's stupid now. Anyway, so we have been discussing the relationship between large language models and artificial intelligence, and probably artificial intelligence systems the vehicle for us to go beyond language. If we, so there's this argument that about godlike artificial intelligence, that if all the intelligence is expressible in terms of language, then it's predictable, isn't it? It's, we need new forms of language. After all, natural language is something that we have been around, for many, many years. And, unless AI systems develop artificial language, they can't really go beyond human intelligence. So probably in the years to come, they will come up with artificial language so that we wouldn't be able to comprehend it. So, probably I will finish this episode because, prolonging it too much is not really a great idea. So, I think artificial intelligence has successfully emulated our natural language processing abilities, and in that sense, although we haven't succeeded in doing whole brain emulation, I think we have successfully did whole language emulation, and now the whole natural language landscape has been reproduced. Probably it's time for us to go beyond that and reproduce, a totally new vista on the reality. And probably we need a new artificial intelligence based on artificial language. When artificial intelligence systems produce artificial language, that would be the true singularity. The true singularity would be when artificial intelligence systems are based on artificial language systems. And then we would have no hope of understanding what they are doing. So with that thought, I close this episode of Street Brain Radio. Thank you for listening.